So this is partly a chance for me just to check in. Parami and I are order conveners, international order conveners. Probably Parami's better known than me. She's been doing it longer. She's also a public preceptor. I'm just a bit more sort of introverted as well. So, I mean, looking around, I do know most of you to some extent, but this is me just being a bit more visible, if you like. And when did I start? Just over 2 years ago. So it's just a chance to check in, tell you how it's going. I thought I'll tell you some of the themes that I often end up talking about, just to share them with you. Perhaps that also gives you a chance to let Parami and I know if there's anything else you think we should be talking about. Maybe don't shout them out, right? But, if there's any themes that you think that we should be looking at or giving some attention to. Earlier in the year, I went to see Bante. I mean, I live next door to him, but I don't see him that often, to have a chat with, but I think twice since I've become order convener. So I went to see him, and I think one of the things we talked about was this convention. In the course of the conversation, we just had a pause, and then he asked me this deceptively simple question. He said, "How do you think the order is doing?" So I'm just going to press the pause button on that, and I'll tell you about how that conversation finished in a minute. Tease, yeah. So, when I, in meetings or when I'm travelling about and so on, as I say, I often end up talking about the same things, if you like, the same issues, the same topics. So I just want to say a little bit about those. I'll tell you what they are and just tell you a little bit about them. The first one is myth and mythic context. It's just something that's very close to my heart. And in a way, this follows on quite nicely from just having done this mandala offering practice that Parami very beautifully led. And I feel I'm also following on just from where Pranyakhetu left off yesterday. I also, when I can, I talk about Kalyana Mitrata. I talk about chapters. I talk about retreats. And I talk about play and enjoyment. So there are other things as well, but I've got 15 minutes, and I thought I'll just say a little bit about the first one and a little bit about the others. So when I think of the mythic context, the first thing I turn to, I often turn to Aloko because I've had many conversations with them about this. And so I often turn to the image of the refuge tree. We have an image here that he painted for Manida. And the myth, our central myth, if you like, is the act of going for refuge. The act of going for refuge to the three jewels. I know we can say that so often, we can actually I can lose the mythic, the deeply profound significance of that. And the image helps me a lot. But also, it's not just the refuge tree. It's anything that provides that sort of connection with the transcendental for us. So we have the image of the Buddha and the story of the Buddha. We've got the image of the 1,000-armed Avalokiteshvara over there that Bhante calls the symbol of the order. And he says we can take that quite literally. And we have Lokabandhu's image of that, if you like, over here. There's also our individual, sadhana practice, our yidams, if you like. And I must say, for me, sadhana is becoming a richer and richer experience of this kind of mythic dimension for me. My sadhana has always been important. It hasn't always been a daily practice for me. But sometimes I feel like I'm living Om Mani Padme Hum. I feel like I'm living it somehow. I can't say any more than that. My sadhana's obviously Avalokiteshvara. But I think that this idea of keeping this in perspective, if you like, keeping this overarching perspective of the mythic context, I think is vital for our community. And I want to explain that in a way, just in one sort of particular way, if you like. I think, Aloka calls it, going for refuge, he calls it the only, how does he put it, the only complete mythic system known to humankind. It's quite a bold thing to say, isn't it? And how he explains that, if I can get this right, is that he says it's complete because it's fully resolvable, in the sense that we can become Buddha, we can become enlightened. And he says other mythic systems, while they may be big, beautiful, bold, profound, they are not completely resolvable in the same way, that we can actually become the goal that we talk about and that we image. There's another phrase that I like, which comes from, not from a Buddhist context, it's from a poetry context. It comes from Jane Hirschfield, writing about the hiddenness, the generative powers of poetry, and one of them is hiddenness. And she talks about a fidelity to the ungraspable. I did just check that phrase with Nagaketu and translation beforehand. A fidelity to the ungraspable. So it means a truth to something that is beyond concepts, if you like, beyond meaning, something that you can't grasp hold of. And I find this a very lovely way of just keeping this idea. It's like you're keeping a goal in mind, but it's too big to actually grab hold of. And I think that this is important. I think it protects us, because what it means is that we can get on this kind of surface of this earth with our projects, start, running groups and centres and like new projects, taking the Dharma into new places. Even the having all these challenging conversations about how we organise ourselves, how we tackle race and prejudice, how we tackle the issues of today, climate change and our economic system. In a way, if we keep that mythic context in view, it's so big, we can get on and just like have these projects at a more individual and collective level, and we can have a go. In a way, we can make mistakes. That's what the mythic context allows us to do. It allows us to kind of make a mistake, to have a go, to be challenged, even to fail. Like our going for refuge is not dependent on whether the project that we start succeeds or fails. Do you see what I'm getting at? Having the mythic context in mind protects us from that. And I think this is a really lovely and important point. It's something, I feel one of the great gifts from Bhante is to, in this area and others, is to really give us the core principles, if you like, and that their strategies and applications are many and varied, so that when you're clear about principles, you can actually riff off them, you can actually lead a really creative life, but you trust that you've got your core values right. And I think this is a really great gift. It's a great gift for us, and it's a great gift for the world. One of my favourite poets is a Lithuanian-Polish poet whose name I can't actually pronounce. I think it's Śleżło Miłość. Padmavajra knows it better than me. But one of his poems, it's so beautiful. He says, "I never expected to live in a time of dishonoured myths." It's something Subhuti, a theme that Subhuti goes into in reimagining the Buddha. And we do live in a world of dishonoured myths. And I think if we can hold up our own kind of mythic perspective, we offer a gift to others. So I'll say something a little bit about Kalyana Mitrata. Now, in my mind, I make quite a clear connection from the mythic dimension to Kalyana Mitrata. But when I was thinking about this morning, I'm not sure if I can articulate it clearly enough right now. In fact, I was going to pause and just have a go, but I'm not sure I can do it. So can I just leave that one out there? I do make a direct connection. No, I'm not going to do it. Did I write down an idea hint? No, I didn't. All right. I think it's that the mythic context, it's something about that is our, it's like how we connect our emotions. Is that 5 minutes to go? It's how we connect our emotions. It's like, it's what Bhante says, he talks about it as this is what really drives us, what we make an emotional connection with. And actually, our emotional connections are all about other people. That's our life, if you like. I know abstract ideas, you can have an emotional response to them, but really it's about other people. I think having Kalyana Mitrata at the centre of our order, I do think of it as a principle of how we relate to each other, is just another great gift. And I love the word Kalyana, noble, auspicious, or beautiful. I also think it's really important just to remember it has this very strong vertical element. Sometimes people like Kalyana Mitrata as a sort of organising principle because it's quite, there is a strong horizontal element. You learn from peers. There's also a very strong vertical dimension to it as well. But what I like about Kalyana Mitrata, it doesn't assume, it doesn't fix, it doesn't rigidify a particular status. It's about engaging with people, and then you learn through that engagement. So chapters, just a quick word on chapters. Chapters, I'd say, are almost a principle. They're that fundamental, but I'd really prefer to think of it as a fundamental expression of the principle of Kalyana Mitrata, if you like. They're a realm of Kalyana Mitrata. I think it's worth saying they're not an easy practice. I mean, I often go around and ask people about their chapters. Not all chapters are easy. And I think it's good just to recognise that. It's actually quite a difficult practice in some ways. I think that maybe just the only thing I might offer in that is that it's really important in chapter to be able to articulate your own needs and be receptive to the needs of the other people in your chapter, and just hold those two in a bit of tension, if you like, a creative tension, articulating your own needs and responding and being receptive to others. So yeah, just a quick word on retreats as well. I wrote down here, when I'm on retreat with other order members, all difficulties and differences tend to dissolve and disappear. I don't know why I framed it in the negative there, but because also whatever joy I'm experiencing is often magnified, but it's just all difficulties and differences tend to dissolve. And it's almost like, we can't be on retreat all the time. If we were, we probably wouldn't need guidelines and protocols and policies and so on. But retreats are, what does Bhante call them? The nucleus of the nucleus, if you like, of the new society. I've only got 3 minutes to go, so I'm sorry I'm not saying any more about that. Play and enjoyment. I think it's because it's not, it is quite a serious business that we're engaged in. So I know it's quite easy to make this point, and it's harder to make the point that actually it requires a lot of effort and a lot of striving. But I do think that balancing that with a sense of play and enjoyment is just absolutely vital. And I think that maybe this is the only point I need to make, when you are really enjoying your Dharma life, it's very attractive to other people. 1 minute. So I'm going to hand over to Amala Vajra. We're going to do the same thing as the previous morning, just each person hands on to the next. I'm coming to that. That question was, what did, going back to the conversation with Bhante. That's what I haven't forgotten. Yeah, oh good, yeah, you were listening. Yeah. So how is the order doing? So when I sat there, there was a 2-second pause in my mind. What immediately flashed in, I just thought, well, really well, actually. And then I thought, I'm sitting in front of Bhante. Is that the truth? Is that true? And then my mind just kind of quickly, it just flashed out to all the conventions I've been to in the previous 12 months, which was the Pan American Convention in Mexico. It was the Australasian Convention in Sydney, the Indian Convention in Bordeaux, and the Mainland Europe Convention in Berlin, or outside Berlin. And on all the individual meetings I'd had, and my mind just went whoosh like this, and I thought, yeah, actually, it's really impressive. I know the difficulties. I know, in a way, the difficulties I don't mind, because I think, how can we not have that? How can we possibly not have that? So, you know, there are difficulties, there are difficult conversations, but I thought, no, it's going really well. So, you know, I had that pause. I thought, yes, I can say this. And I said, Bante, I think it's going really well. And he, you know, he's sitting in that armchair, and he was obviously waiting for my answer as well. And he went like this. He slapped his knees. It's so do I.